every mortgage is different. Every Canadian's different, whether that's they're new to the country, they're a gig worker, they have a full-time job on the side, they have different income sources, they have co-borrowers. When you think about how every application looks so different, the workload to actually decide on lending a mortgage becomes very difficult. And the default for mortgage lenders is, well, let's find a way to auto-adjudicate that loan. The problem is everyone's different. And so you need to find ways now to break down how I would actually solve that Canadian and really solve that Canadian and all the challenges they bring to that mortgage application. And so if you can think about how you automate verifying that individual and the information that comes from them, because lending is really simple. You have data, you have documents, you have decisions. And it's the documentation and the data that's coming from those borrowers that make it difficult. Decisions are easy. So if you can find technology and services that wrap around to automate that process, you get to a much simpler outcome. If we solve the problem and we could actually fund a mortgage in the same day, I believe Canadians are the ultimate winners. That the process, the cost to originate will go down, ultimately making the cost to own a home go down, which makes it easier for people to get into homes. At a global level, it's multi-trillion dollar opportunity that sits there in front of us today. Because to fix the entire ecosystem and solve the problem from application through securitization is a massive opportunity, because 90% of that today is still stuck in legacy technology and outdated processes. All of that can actually be evolved, and it's not going to get evolved. It won't all evolve at once. It has to be systematic. You have to start taking these off in chunks. It's how we started. We looked at what we thought was the biggest bottleneck in the short term, which was how loans are adjudicated. But when you start moving downstream from that, how capital's raised, how mortgages are securitized, how those loans move into secondary markets, they're all very antiquated systems. And so being able to solve all of that allows you to access this multi-trillion dollar market. The customer being, I think there's multiple customers in the outcome of this. It's, if we think about the lending institution themselves, they're able to fund loans very simply. They have their liquidity problems go away. They have access to a lot more cash and capital to be able to fund more loans. I think from the borrower's perspective, there's no more stress. It's simple. You decide you want to buy a home, you're going to know whether you can qualify for that home and actually acquire it within minutes. And then I think there's the investor side of it, and these are the people that are effectively funding the loans. And for them, due diligence on that loan has always been difficult. So to be able to purchase the loan to create the capital requirements for those lenders to lend back to the Canadian or back to the borrower is a blind process for the most part. And they don't have full visibility, which makes buying those loan packages expensive. If you can provide more transparency, more clarity, it allows them to have more flexibility in how they deploy their capital into those loan books. I think we're 20% of the way down that journey. And when I think about that whole end-to-end, solving the entire problem for the entire ecosystem, and we've solved the adjudication flow. We now need to go solve the capital flows. We need to solve the investor problem. We need to solve the securitization problem. And eventually I think there's probably some enhancements that need to come to how borrowers make decisions to buy loans. Getting buy-in and trust from large financial institutions who traditionally have built first, maybe bought third. It was, and being a startup, small fintech company originally, convincing large institutions of a vision, because that's what we had to sell at the beginning, that there was a vision for a better way. wasn't easy, but once we began to get traction and we were able to deliver, it allowed us to build the trust needed to continue the journey. Setbacks should be a motto on the back of a T-shirt for FundMore. It's a complex world in dealing with financial institutions and large banks. It's especially when you're a small team and there are 10,000 employees. You're going up against a behemoth and you're trying to work within their ecosystem. It caused a lot of frustration, and then just the cost to actually build out a software solution like this, both time, energy, actual capital. It's very expensive, and it's not a story that's easily. It's not an easy story for someone to back when revenue's 5 years down the road. So you really need investors, and we've been fortunate. We've had some great investment partners that have trusted us or believed in us to be able to execute on this plan, and really that's come from industry. We've had really good partners from industry support our journey. Our next milestone is to be able to enter our next vertical with success. So if I think about that, it's moving deeper into the insurance space, finding new ways of supporting their processes. It still boggles my mind that if I want to go get home or life or auto insurance, that it still involves people. But there's been a ton of innovation supposedly in this space, but it's still a very manual process ultimately. And I think there's room for a lot of improvement. And I believe our workflow engine can be there to support that. I grew up playing and coaching in a lot of competitive sports. At the back of my mind, it's always there. It's always driving me to want to win, to be first, to get across the line first. But I've also grown, and I think this probably comes from the coaching side and less from the playing side, that things sometimes take a bit of time, and I have to accept that. As long as we're at the forefront of the conversation and people are asking us the right questions and want to continually hear from us, I think we're doing a good job. As much as I would love us to be, working with every bank in North America and every insurance company across the globe. We're at our best when we're working with financial institutions that really want change. I think when those two pillars have sort of come together, it's allowed us to really execute on a very clear vision and deliver some incredible technology and some amazing efficiency, where technology and services have really led to a better outcome. If you're operating in the financial ecosystem today, and you're part of a lending or adjudication flow within that, because when we say financial institutions, it's very big, very large enterprises that span banking, wealth, insurance, asset management. Really, anywhere in there that there's some sort of adjudication workflow that needs to be solved, that's our target customer. And that can be as small as somebody pushing 100 loans a month. It could be someone as large as a bank pushing 5,000 loans a month. The efficiency in how we deploy has improved, so we're able to support a greater breadth of types of customers and institutions within that space.